Hello, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, reporting from a little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I know you're thinking, what is going on with your hair? Well, tonight, Robert Gwaltney, who is my co host of our book and film club, and I are going to be talking about the wonderful film Waiting for Guffman. And if you haven't seen it, we're going to highly recommend that you do so. But I am actually, there's two characters in the film that are married in this small town of Blaine, Missouri, that own a travel agency. So I'm being a travel agent. Looks like I've been all around the world, and I have my travel books here with all the wonderful things. But the characters in the movie were Fred Thompson and Catherine O'Hara, and they owned a travel agency in this small town in Missouri named Blaine, but they had never been out of Blaine, Missouri. So it's a mockumentary. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And I'm just going to turn it over to Robert for a little bit and maybe tell us, Robert, when was the first time you saw this film, Waiting for Guffman, which is a Christopher Guest film. And if you don't know who Christopher Guest is, you need to know, because he's married to another famous actress, Jamie Lee Curtis. And I love both of them. They're so different. But there's a whole series of these films. So turning it over to Robert for, what was the first time you watched this film?
Gosh, so I think you know what? I think around when it came, I actually saw it in the theater when it
Oh,
came
did
out
you?
back in 1996, 1997, and I thought it was hysterical. And it's the first time I'd been introduced to Christopher Guest. I thought he was amazing. Um, Wonderful film, and I love your hair this evening. I love that you've intrigued
Well, it's got that
hair,
90s vibe. And I, honest to God,
the claw.
searching in my closet for the jogging suits. They wore matching jogging suits. And I never wore jogging suits in the 90s anyway. So there was nothing. If I'd had more time, I would have gone to Goodwill and been looking for a jogging suit. But the zippers, and they're running this travel agency, but they've got the acting bug, and they've got a routine down, this comedy routine. It's priceless. But you saw it in the theater in Atlanta? Was
I
it
didn't know I was in Tallahassee, Florida back in
Oh,
1996.
that's
Yes, so
right.
yes, I would have seen. I guess I saw the movie there, probably at one of the little art theaters. I don't think that movie played the big theaters. I think it was more sort of the
Well,
smaller.
he's known for his work on Spinal Tap and all this stuff. And what happened to me was I had just taken a job as a book publisher's rep, and for the first time ever flown to New York City. And I get to the Mayflower Hotel, which is right across from Central Park. And I'm checking in at the desk, and two other girls come up to the counter and they go, "Are you Kathy?" I said, "Yes, I am." And a real tall, strikingly beautiful woman, her name was Annie, she goes, "I'm with Southern Territories too." And so was the other woman that was with her. We're reps, and one covered the South and one covered the other part of Texas, West Texas, that I wasn't covering, in Dallas and Fort Worth and Austin. And she was from Corpus Christi. And they said, "What are you doing now?" And I go, "Well, I just got here." It was a 4-hour flight. And they said, "We're going to the movies and you're going with us." And I go, "The movies? I love the movies, but you guys, I've been sitting for 4 hours." They go, "Oh, you've got to go." Because Annie's boyfriend was the best boy that did the lights on the film.
Yeah.
It was filmed in I think it was filmed in Texas. So you're going to this film, and it's called Waiting for Guffman. So I'll never forget that. I mean, I just barely arrived, and we take off. And the theater we went to was right across from Central Park, down at the other end, where if you went around the corner, there was Bergdorf's, the big department
Mhm.
store, and FAO Schwartz and all that area. And so we go into this theater, and I've never been to New York City. And I remember it cost $10 or $12 to go to the movie theater. I was like, holy moly. I go back home, it was like, I don't know, $2 or $3, you know? And I go, this movie better be worth it. And then I said, I want a Coke, you know, a frosty Coke. And they handed me a bottle, a plastic bottle. I go, you know, no ice, straw, you know, no. I go, well, that'll be $8. I just was like, my God, how do people afford to go to the movie theater? But we go in and we sit down and I got lost in the show. I never laughed so hard in my life. And basically you want to talk about the premise of the film, what it's about? It's really
Yeah. So I mean, it's hysterical, really. So you have this character that's played by Christopher Guest, Corky St. Clair, and he's which is an amazing name. And of course, he is a supposedly a heterosexual man, but he has a stereotypical gay mannerisms, and he has a wife. He has a wife that no one has ever seen in town.
he's always buying clothes for
He
her.
goes buying clothes for her.
And
It's
you never see her. And you got to talk about his hairstyle, because the hair, being a hairdresser, the hair in this show is absolutely priceless. And Corky St. Clair has, I call it the Captain Kangaroo cut.
yeah,
You know, it's those really too short, straight, bang, bowl cut.
bad.
It's bad.
So
And a
so
mustache.
I was reading a story about how that hair came to be. And people thought that he just had a really bad haircut, but he actually had this old box of toupees that they brought him, and he picked the worst one out, and that's what they used.
Is that right? I love it. It's just because his hair is nothing like that. He's
No,
nice hair, you know, and everything. And he's very flamboyant.
exactly.
And he comes to Blaine, and he's been working off Broadway.
Right. He arrived. I think one of his lines is, I arrived in New York with just my dance belt and a chapstick.
I'm thinking, is this for real? And then what happens is the town is getting ready to celebrate Blaine, Missouri, which at the time, you know, I was living in Jefferson, Texas, and we have a Chamber of Commerce meeting. And the music director has been brought forward to do this musical. And oh, the guy who plays him, he is, oh, what is his name? He has been in all these films too. He's hilarious. The thing about this film is there's like five of these mockumentary. There's
Yes.
Mighty Wind, there's For Your Consideration, there's
So,
Best in Show. Maybe there's four.
well, there's the other one about the NPR show,
Oh yes.
or
Uh,
Prairie Home Companion.
yes.
Yeah.
So, but all the actors that are in this show, Waiting for Guffman, are all pretty much in the next show and the next show and the next show. They play different characters. And I'll tell you, when he was when Corky St. Clair, the character he played in Waiting for Guffman, next week we're going to do Best of Show. He plays a man who owns a bait shop. And he's got a red bone hunting
Hound
dog,
Dog?
hound dog, and he's just, you know, he's got the buffalo plaid backwoodsman, totally different character, and he nails both the characters, as do all the people that are involved
It's
in.
amazing. I mean,
Uh,
we've all known Corky St. Clair's.
oh yeah, I had a theater dance teacher in high school that used to be Sandy Duncan's dance partner.
Oh,
He was
boy.
from Texas, and his name was Tommy Peacock.
Oh, my God.
And his favorite thing to teach us in dance class was the da 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 da, you know, the big stripper song.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and Tommy Peacock.
Oh,
And
my God.
anyway,
He should not have been born with that name.
I mean, what a name. But he was Sandy Duncan's dad. I think he was from around Tyler, Texas, where I'm from now. But anyway, yeah, we've all known Corky St. Clair's. I don't know if I've known anybody quite like the two people that were the travel agency owners, though. because they wear matching outfits, you know.
So Eugene Levy,
Oh,
who was also a creative mastermind behind the movie. He said that that the married couple character was based on this small town local theater couple that he once knew, and he said that it was exactly like them, very much
well,
so.
there's a dinner scene that gets priceless. But Eugene Levy plays a dentist, and him and his wife are Jewish, and
Yeah.
they're just wonderful. Just to watch the expressions on their face, and when he would take his glasses off in the show, he would be cross-eyed.
One eye with yes.
I don't
Because,
know how he did that.
uh,
And he'd say, I have to wear corrective lenses. And the minute he'd take them off, I don't know how he did that with his
I don't
eyes.
know how we did it either. But we were talking about the premise, and so they're coming together to make this show. They're going to do a production that's been written by Corky St. Clair, and it's called Red, White, and Blaine. And it's a musical.
And they're going to put on this musical for the town. And it's their 100th anniversary.
Something like that. It's like, yeah, some big centennial
It's a
celebration.
big thing, but the Chamber of Commerce meeting is,
Oh
I
my
think at the time when that came out, my ex-husband was the president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I've been to 1,000 Chamber of Commerce meetings. And I love the one character,
The pharmacist?
yes, I'm telling you, everybody steals the show over and over and over.
Oh,
It's
wonderful moments by all of them.
well, and so what they do is the Chamber of Commerce says, we're going to do this, we're going to fund it, we're going to go for it. And they bring in Corky to be the theatrical director, and the high school band director, who was going to be running it all, has been demoted to just doing the music.
Right.
So there's a tension, and the tension is small town perfection.
It is.
Because we've all seen that happen when somebody took somebody else's, whatever, day in the sun. It's very small town. But they put on the production, and then they do tryouts for the characters. And you get all the townspeople trying out. And Parker Posey.
I love her.
Oh my gosh, she recently has been in a remake of Lost in Space. I don't know if you've seen that on Netflix, but that girl can do anything. And she's
Hysterical.
absolutely one of my favorite actresses in the world. She's beautiful and darling. And between her and Catherine O'Hara, I don't know, to be a bad actor is, I think, harder than being, halfway good.
Right.
How they portray the worst acting I've ever seen in my life,
They do it beautifully. And Parker Posey plays, she works at the Dairy Queen, and her name is Libby Mae Brown.
And I almost was chewing gum and had pigtails tonight, and I thought, surely I have an old uniform from one of my waitress days. Nothing. So I decided to do the bang thing like Catherine O'Hara, which, for those of you who have not watched Schitt's Creek, which is the Emmy Award-winning Netflix television show starring Eugene Levy and everybody on that show, and his son and daughter are both on that show. My daughter got me hooked on that show. But Eugene Levy goes back to, remember the movie Stripes?
Yes.
He was involved with that, and I believe they were Canadian. A lot of them are Canadian. They're alternative art movie kind of actors. They're always doing experimental comedy, but I'm telling you, they are the movies. Waiting for Guffman is the movie I go to whenever I'm in a bad, funky place. I can watch that, and all of a sudden life is good again. I really don't want to go into what happens, but the whole premise of the movie is they're going to put on this big production for the whole town, and Corky St. Clair has a New York Times critic coming to watch the show, and they're just all praying, and they're so hopeful to have this man come all the way from New York City to see their play. They're going to go Broadway. And the guy's never worked anything but off off Broadway. So it's a story about small town life, people that have really big dreams and they want, their time in the limelight. It's one of those films where, you know, when you get done watching it, you see the humor in mundane, simple little things that drive you crazy. But it's so quotable. I mean, there's so many
Oh, so
quotes,
many.
so
So
many. I know you've got them
I
memorized.
do. I've got to, and you're going to have to let me do some.
You have to. You got to. You got
But
to do it. Okay.
but before I do, so there's this was, and I did not know this. The only part of that movie that was scripted was the play.
No.
Everything else was
Was
improv.
improv?
Improv. And so Christopher Guest, he would have the actors, he would tell them sort of what wanted to happen, and they would just come and they would create what they were going to do.
I
So can you imagine? Isn't that amazing?
I think that's why it rings so true.
Yeah,
I mean, her chewing the gum and she goes, I work at the Dairy Queen and I make blizzards. Just like going, oh
exactly.
my God, grew up at the Dairy Queen. I know those people. And I just was laughing so hard. And then you got to talk about Johnny. Johnny, um,
The the grease monkey.
yes, the smoldering,
Yeah,
good-looking, tall mechanic. Corky gets a look at him and goes,
yeah,
"I
he was
got to put
kind of
this guy
right
in
about.
my play."
And he
You
was going to play the romantic lead. But we won't say what went awry, of course. But
No, no,
um,
no.
which
And the
is
costumes in the play, those jeans that he had on, I've
the
never
Porky,
seen jeans quite like that before.
Porkies. Well, do you know why they look so peculiar? And you have to look closely.
Are they backwards?
They're backwards.
I knew it. I knew it because I thought those jeans don't look right at all, and they were so big legged,
Yes.
And and the way he had on that wife beater and the belt, it was
Yeah,
just. But they were backwards, weren't they?
they were backwards.
The
They were so
costuming,
big you could wear them backwards.
and the hair and the dialogue, it's just seamless. I would love to see some of the outtakes, wouldn't you? Actually, I shared the scene they cut where Corky goes
Yeah.
hunting with the mechanic dad.
Well,
Oh my God, that was
you
so
know,
funny.
when you were talking about, the Chamber of Commerce, and when Corky decided that if they're going to make it to Broadway, he's going to have more money.
Yes.
So, so he so he goes to the Chamber of Commerce and he says, "Okay, guys, we really want to do this. We got to do it right, but I can't do it on this budget." And they're like, "Okay, how much do you need?" And he says, $100,000. And they're like, it's like crickets. And they're
They
like,
just start laughing. They think, "Oh, you're so funny." He goes, "I'm serious," and then he got mad.
yes. He
And
called them a bunch of bastard people.
I'm just reliving it all in my mind. And I cannot think of the actor who, every time Corky speaks, his face was just, oh, you're wonderful. And I'm like,
The pharmacist.
yes, the pharmacist. Oh my
I
God.
can't remember his name, but of course he was a single pharmacist, and of course was secretly in love with Corky, and Corky could do no wrong. And
Corky could do no wrong. And then there's a woman who's on the Chamber of Commerce board that her family is legacy in the town. They go back generation after generation.
they're Blaine's.
Yeah, they're the Blaines. And the story about Blaine, Missouri, how it got started is just so, in the musical, they go back and from the pioneer days, they're going, it's these people that are going to they're going to go to the ocean.
Yeah, they're on their way to the ocean.
They stop in Blaine and they think they've arrived. It's just, and it's like a lake or something, or what was it?
Yeah, so they were nowhere near the ocean, of course.
I
And of
mean,
course,
they'd only made it a couple of states.
God, they just gave up.
It's it's going to take like a year to get to California. I mean, why in the world would they think they'd get there in a month by wagon train?
Exactly.
And they got, oh my God,
So I think one of the number I think the song to that is covered wagons, open toed shoes.
but the best part about it is um, they go through the history of Blaine, and one of the things they're known for is the three-legged stool. The musical number they do with these three-legged stools and the choreography. In Jefferson, I have really good friends that make metal chairs, you know, those retro metal chairs that you always saw in the 50s and 60s. And I said, oh my God, you guys got to do a 100th anniversary of Jefferson, and you got to have those metal chairs and do that number where they do it's like stools. What was it?
Yeah, so I mean, so you can make a cool metal chair, but can you make a stool? Yeah, and so of course it was a play on words. You know, I mean, the whole time you're thinking about the human stool.
Right, right. And there was another. Wasn't there another outtake I shared with you? Was it Penny?
Oh, penny for a thought is hysterical.
Oh my God,
When they're
Parker
in,
Posey.
when they're in Paris, France, and they're walking.
And
You know,
she's
they're
got
doing their
that
sailor walk.
5 sizes too big sailor dress on.
Yes.
And then she's always doing these ballet moves, but you can tell she's had ballet.
Yeah. So
But
she's known for her high kick and the splits.
she does it. I remember Corky in the tryouts goes, wow, you know, and I'm thinking, oh my God, so
Do you
much
remember?
talent.
Do you remember the finale though, like of Penny for Your Thought, when Corky also does the ballet move?
I remember in the outtake of the song when he's singing, the last little bit that he sings is so, it was just so priceless. I know people that are listening to this right now, they're going,
crazy.
Robert and Kathy have lost their minds. But I'm telling you, if anybody can sit down and watch this movie and not laugh their head off, there's something wrong with them, because it is so funny, because we all know these people.
We do.
We all, I mean, if you, you know, grew up in a small town like I did, you've got, you know, your hierarchy of the Chamber of Commerce and your, you know, your school administration and the people that own the businesses in town. We all know these people, and people get this kind of false sense of superiority when they get into small town politics.
Right.
And it's just watching it play out on screen. And the part about where they did a mock-up of this town square of what they're going to do to get ready for it and where they're going to put the trash barrels.
Yeah, we're gonna put the trash barrels here.
On each corner. And weren't they going to have gunmen on the top
They
of the
were. They were gonna have sharpshooters on the roof.
just like, God bless America and the NRA, you know. And I was just like, oh my goodness. But it has probably the best ending ever.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, Robert, do you remember any more of the quotes?
Well, so when you first are introduced to Libby Mae Brown,
Yes,
this is
the
sort
Dairy
of,
Queen.
so this is sort of her monologue. I've been working here at the DQ for about 8 months, 7. I don't know, something like that. It's fun. Just do the cones, make sundaes, make blizzards, putting stuff on them. See a lot of people come in. A lot of people come to the DQ. Burgers, ice cream, anything, you know, Cokes. Just drive in and get a Coke if you're thirsty.
It's so true. But when you said blizzards, I just lost it, because my kids and I used to always go to Dairy Queen for blizzards. And when I was a kid, it was Mr. Misty's. I don't know if anybody, that says how old I am.
I remember
You could get them for a dime,
Yeah.
Mr. Misty, or a chocolate cone. But it's, let's say, I'm trying to think some of the other professions. We had the mechanic. We had, who was the narrator? What did he do in real life?
Oh my gosh. He was he a retired school teacher or something? I cannot remember that actor's name, but he's amazing.
He's amazing. And what's another thing amazing is I have done theatrical makeup for many, many productions. I've even done it for operas. And, you know, because I'm a makeup artist too. The makeup for the narrator is so bad.
It is. He's
It
like
is.
a drag queen.
He looks he's got lipstick and blush, and he's in a like overalls and a straw hat. And there's one scene where Eugene Levy reaches down and pulls a straw out of his pants pocket and
Right.
just holds it just like so perfect. And it's like, when people chew on a straw, they just chew on it. But
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
and it's just
You're
so
so right.
ridiculous. And they said there's a scene in it where they tell him that you're going to have to, they didn't have glasses like that back in
Right.
the 1800s. So he has to come out and he does the whole scene cross-eyed. And it's just, I mean, it, it's the best. And they have an intermission during the big show. And
And they're all hyped up and so excited, and he's here, he's here. They think that
yes,
Guffman has
the new
arrived. Morton Guffman is a
Guffman is the film critic. That's why it's called Waiting for Guffman. But you have to watch the whole thing to find out what happens. But I I would love to see a high school production of that.
that
Wouldn't
would
that be
I know,
awesome?
it would be hysterical.
I hope that somewhere some they have, or even on Broadway. I'd go see it on
I would
Broadway.
totally I mean, it would be hysterical. Could you imagine? I think it'd be an awesome broad. You know what? And maybe they're doing it. We'll have to research that online.
We'll have to, because it's one of those films that it's like what is the my favorite one that I always go and see? It's a British play, and it's where people get things mixed up. I've seen a million renditions of it, and it's funny as all get out, and it involves a purse. Gosh, why can't I think of that? It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I go to every production of it. I've been to every production of To Kill a Mockingbird that's probably ever been made. And when I go to New York, I would go to New York, and I'd spend about 17 days in New York going to all the sales conferences for all the publisher houses. And then if I had a free night, I'd go to the ballet or the theater, or go see a musical. I'd go get tickets at half price, and I'd go. And I saw some amazing productions when I was up there. And I took the Pulpo Queens back to New York, and I'm hoping that Broadway will, survive all this, because there's nothing more fun. Have you ever done theater, Robert?
You know what? I would have loved to have done it. In my heart, I always
Well,
wanted
you
to.
can do it now.
I can do
There's
it now.
no reason why.
Well,
I actually played Truvy. My last role in community theaters, I played Truvy in Steel Magnolias, and I was cast for it. And I would always, that's one of my favorite films. Um, and it was kind of a dream come true to be that, until I found out I was in every scene and I never got a break. And
yeah.
it's literally is so emotionally trying. And also I was doing hair the whole time, and then there's that, very traumatic scene where
Right.
she's doing the young woman's hair, and she goes into a diabetic,
Shelby.
yeah, Shelby, was played by Julia Roberts. But our theater group went to Natchitoches, Louisiana, where that was all set. And we went to the house where, they shot the birds out in the wedding. We went to a restaurant, and we had to stay in character the whole time. It was quite the trip. And I called Robert, gosh, what's his last name? I want to say it's not Darling. Robert. I called his house when I was in Nacogdoches and got his dad, senior. They both have this. He's the junior. He's the one who wrote the story about his sister. That was his sister, a true life story. And I invited him to come to the production in Jefferson, because we're only just a couple hours apart. And I'll never forget, his dad started crying. He was in his early 80s, and he said, "You have to understand that my wife now has Alzheimer's, so I can't leave her. I can't come." But he said, "I would love to see it. I think what you're doing is fantastic." And here in East Texas, Still Magnolias plays at some theater at some point all year long, every theater in the, but that was fun. You should do community theater. It's a lot of fun. I did it with my girls because I wanted my girls not to grow up shy like I was as a kid. And when you get involved in theater, you learn how to portray yourself and public. And in fact, when Lainey got out of college, she got a job with the Tyler Civic Theater, and she was in charge of all their children's productions. She put on those and took them to contests. And but her very first role was in Meet Me in St. Louis. She played the little girl Agnes, who came in on the stilts,
Mhm.
and she won Child Actor of the Year.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
both my girls were in. We would do the plays, and for 2 months, every night after dinner, we'd run to the practices, and um, we had a lot of fun. We still talk about all the
So I
things
would,
that we did. You
coming along,
should.
if I'd done theater, it would have been very much like awaiting Guffman, waiting for Guffman, I would imagine those productions for me in Cairo, Georgia. But I would have loved to, but I suffered a childhood stutter. So, and
Really?
even today, it sometimes there's when I have to speak, there's this panic that will come over me that I won't be able to get the words out. So it stayed with me. Luckily, I was able to get past it. But yeah, I can remember being in school praying that the teacher wouldn't call on me. I would know the answer,
I
but
was the same. I was the
I would
same way as a kid. I mean,
try and I wouldn't be able to get the words out.
and I had a real bad habit of, if I got called on, I'd cry. And my darling daughter called me and said he had his school. My 2-year-old grandson had his school picture taken. He goes to a little Methodist daycare, and he's crying in all of them. And she said the only thing they finally got a picture of him where he wasn't crying, and I got him a little finger puppet Mousy, and he's holding the Mousy, and it's actually kind of right in front of his face, but he's not crying, he's not smiling, but he's got Mousy. And I go, I won't share those, but these are the most precious photos I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, how sweet.
Because, they're real.
Right.
Not all kids are just born to shine like Shirley
Right.
Temple, but you should do some community theater. You would be good. Maybe we'll do theater at Girlfriend Weekend when we get
I was getting ready to say, wouldn't it be fun if like we did like a few little skits from our favorite shows or plays?
uh, okay. All right, another collaboration. Let's do it. Maybe we could do something from Tennessee Williams.
Oh, that would be so much fun. Absolutely.
And I know how to get permission to do those things, because I remember we put on Laundry and Bourbon. I don't know if you ever been to that play, but
No, I don't
I
know
was
that.
in it with two of my girlfriends, and we put it on at Girlfriend Weekend one year. And it's set in the 70s, and it's about three girls who are drinking one night pretty heavily bourbon out in West Texas, and they're commiserating with each other about their husbands and life in general, and they're doing their laundry and drinking bourbon. And it is a priceless female friendship um, play. If you haven't seen Laundry and Bourbon, I highly recommend it. But I've been in Meet Me in St. Louis, and um, you know, I Remember Mama. We've done, and in Meet Me in St. Louis, they cast me as the Judy Garland's older sister, who was always trying to get a man to marry her.
Right.
And they cast, this is small town, they cast a boy who was a senior in high school, and I was 41. Okay.
Wow.
So his mother worked at the bank where I go through every day to make my deposit. And I said, listen, I want your permission, but I've got to flirt with him through this whole play, really outrageously. She laughed so hard. She goes, when he came home and told me that you were going to be his love interest, she goes, it, we had more fun doing that play. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to go to plays together. But
Yeah.
let's do that. We're
And
going to have to do that.
absolutely.
We have plenty of time. We have plenty of time.
Do.
So,
And I think
so
that's the beauty of community theater, don't you, Kathy, for individuals who don't have those outlets to be able to go in and express themselves in
You
Well,
know, with the arts are so important, especially during times like this. You know, I am always hearing from the director over at the Tyler Civic Theater. She goes, "Can you help get the word out? We're doing social distance theater, so they only seat people every 6 feet. So they're not even doing it to full houses, but they're going ahead with their productions." And I said, "Absolutely. Send me what you've got. I will post it out there." And I went to everything Lainey was ever in. Over in the Diary of Anne Frank to Cllub. I mean, they did all kinds of crazy stuff. Hairspray, you know, and that I'll tell you, there's a lot of talent in East Texas. But a lot of these actors and things that would come in would be from all over the place because they're just looking for places to perform. So, well, it's all about um, that.
we
So
all
there's
need to
no
do
book based upon this film because it was an improv, but there are lots of great stories by playwrights. There are lots of great theater stories. I mean, we've recently watched All About Eve. We've you know, we did Gone with the Wind, and next week we're going to do Best in Show, which we're going to have to bring our little animals out. We're going to have to bring our pets out because it's all about a dog show. And uh, I laughed hard at Waiting for Guffman. I think I laughed just as hard at Best in Show because the way, you know, I've always been fascinated the way people walk those dogs
yes.
in shows, and you know they walk really fast. And it's just, it's, and the guy who plays,
Well,
um,
the Gene Levy character actually has two left feet. Do you remember?
I haven't watched it in a long time.
He literally has two left feet.
I know. It just goes in circles. Oh my gosh. And Parker Posey.
She plays a yuppie. She's a yuppie in this one.
Oh yuppie. And
She's wearing braces.
oh, and she is just her, and the guy who was the pharmacist, isn't he your husband?
Yes. They're a
Yes.
yuppie couple.
And let's see, Corky plays the owner of this hound dog. He talks like this. Oh my God. And then we've got the commentators. Fred Thompson is one of the commentators. It's priceless. It's really fun, and I'm excited about everybody watching these shows. And
Laugh.
so, any more quotes you can think of?
Well, so if we're coming to a conclusion with our conversation, they're at the very end um, when they're being interviewed after the show, and Parker Posey is her character Libby Mae Brown is commiserating, and she looks into the camera, and when she's contemplating her future, and she says, "I'll always have the Dairy Queen."
You think she just made that up, huh?
I don't know, but it's amazing.
I've been watching, for all of you listening, you can go on YouTube and there's a lot of interviews with Christopher Guest. And there was one I watched that I have never been so uncomfortable in my life. It was very awkward. And he was like battling it out with this guy who was interviewing him. And I don't know what was going on, but I finally, I couldn't watch it anymore. It's too painful. I felt sorry for the host. It's kind of like if you ever, you know, through the many, many years of running Girlfriend Weekend and interviewing authors, every once in a while you get an author and you ask them a question and they'll go, mm-hmm. And I go, well, can you tell me more about that? Mm-hmm. And and you can't get anything. I heard Jimmy Fallon talk about, you know, how that happens sometimes. You get a guest on and you can't get them to talk. And he goes, you're just making up stuff and filling in stories. But I do sometimes get an author that just literally doesn't give anything. And it's not always a first time author. It's usually just somebody who's just not a very talkative person. So I try to listen to all my authors before I ask them to be keynotes and things now, because you just never know what's going to happen. But I'm really excited about our future theater project. That'll be fun. Maybe we could write our own original.
Absolutely, we certainly could.
Wouldn't that
I'm
be fun?
I'm excited. I'm looking
We can
forward
make
to
up fictitious characters, and we could be authors, and you could be an author of a book, and I could be an author, and or we could interview each other and just make up a story about who we are
that
and
would be
do it
wonderful.
totally improv. You know, years ago, folks, at Girlfriend Weekend, I had a wonderful writer from Hollywood. His name was Phil Duran. He wrote The Reluctant Tuscan, and it was a story about his wife, who was an artist, who bought a home in Italy. And she said, let's move there. And they did. They moved there, and then he wrote a story about it. But when he came, I met him out in Los Angeles, and I invited him to Girlfriend Weekend. He goes, shoot, yeah, I'll come for my book. But I found out later that he wrote The Wonder Years, All in the Family, Sanford and Son. He was, I mean, big time writer back in the day. And so when I had him come, I said, we're going to do something really unique. I got with all my authors that were there, and I said, we're going to do something really unique. We're going to do a takeoff on Saturday Night Live. And it's the special guest is going to be Okra, which was going to be, um, you know, me. I was going to be, it was a takeoff on Oprah Winfrey.
Right.
And we had an author by the name of James Fried, who was played by author Michael Morris,
Who she actually fried.
yeah, she actually fried. And River Jordan played me, the Pulpit Queen. We made the front page of the Dallas Morning News with this rendition. But I basically had Phil be the director of it, because he's been involved in improv and all this stuff. And he said, so here's the basic premise. We've got Okra, and she's going to have all these authors on her show. And each author is portraying an author, and you've got to be that author. And there's no script. We're just going to play it off the cuff. And he's going, what's going to happen? I go, I have no idea, but we're going to have fun with it. It was such a success. Everybody laughed their head off. It was so much fun. And after it was over, Phil Duran came up to me and he said, you know, Kathy, I've been to every Academy Award winning party, every Vanity Fair, every Grammy Award winning party. You know, every Hollywood party but I've never in all my years ever experienced anything like Girlfriend Weekend. He goes, that hairball, that was so much fun. And I remember that was the year we had it in Marshall, Texas, and we had it in this art gallery, and it was all twinkly lights and trees. And I remember seeing him out on the dance floor. Michael Morris was on the dance floor, and about 150 girls. And he was just, it's just everybody mass dances. Nobody dances as a couple. It's just everybody dances together.
Like a disco.
And it was like so much fun. But I met him when I was out there for another book club convention, and I was supposed to have Adrienne Barbeau come that year too, but then she got a role in a movie. But I met a lot of celebrities, and we just try to make everything you all do fun. As you can see, I don't take myself very seriously. I like to have fun. I love to wear costumes. Obviously, Robert is on board with me.
I
I
will
mean,
wear a costume, absolutely.
we will absolutely. But this week we've been sharing, it's all about the story. And this is a really great movie to watch for. It's all about Blaine, Missouri, you know, the home of the three-legged stool.
Everyone loves a stool.
Everybody loves a stool, a three-legged stool.
Three-legged stool.
So watch the film. I found it on YouTube for free. You can watch it there for free, but any of your streaming services should be able to have Christopher Guest, Amazon, you know, Netflix, Hulu. One of those will have it, but I know it's on Netflix for free. You can watch it, on YouTube for free. And I cannot thank you enough, Robert. Now, before we go, everybody, Robert has a birthday coming up. So before he leaves today, I'm going to sing you happy birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And it goes like this. You can sing along from home. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Robert. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Oh, thank
Happy
you. Thank
birthday
you. I appreciate that.
on Easter weekend. Isn't all it doesn't always fall on your weekend.
It doesn't, you know what? I believe my original birthday centuries ago, I think fell on an Easter Sunday. And
Wow.
it's on Easter Sunday
I
this year.
would take Easter Sunday because you're going to get Easter baskets and birthday presents. They didn't just say, "Oh, here's your present," and it's an Easter basket, did they?
No, no.
Thank God.
I
Because
did get, though, my mom went through this phase where she would try to make birthday cakes for me. And so she would make these very peculiar, decrepit looking Easter bunny.
do you have photos?
We do. I'll have to find them.
Oh
And
my God.
of course, they're all
Share.
covered in coconut.
Always use coconut for Easter. What was
Coconut
that all about? I
and
guess to show that
jelly
a
beans.
bunny was fluffy.
Yes, coconut and jelly beans.
Oh my God. This week on Facebook, I saw a woman who took an Easter picture and she made a dress out of Peeps. Did you see
I
it?
saw that. That was
And her
fantastic.
belt was made out of chocolate eggs. I go, if I had more money than I'd go up to the dollar store and buy it out and create me a moo out of Peeps. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, I love a peep. Love a peep.
Well, I'll head up there after Easter and buy them up and send them your way. I cannot stand Peeps. But I will tell you, everybody, if you don't like Peeps, they are fabulous to roast as a marshmallow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, roast a peep for
Sure.
your marshmallow for Easter this year. It's certainly cold enough here in East Texas. But yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. And I even know how to do resurrection rolls for Easter. Have you ever heard of this?
I have never heard of that. No.
Resurrection rolls are where you get those triangular biscuits.
Yeah, like the crescent rolls.
Yeah, yeah. You take that and you put a big marshmallow or a peep in it and you sprinkle cinnamon sugar on top of it. You roll it up and you bake it in the oven. And the thing about it is, when you bake it, the marshmallow comes out like Christ came from.
A little irreverent, but okay. He's risen.
I did this with my youth group and they loved it. All the kids love it. But it's called resurrection rolls, y'all. So, I have a really strange sense of humor. I was a very different youth director. So I've been a youth director my whole life. But Easter was, you'll have to read my blog, everybody. It's up on thepulpitqueens.com. And it's about the story. This is the week. It's all about the story, which is our theme for this year. And then I'm going to leave with a birthday present for all of you. Get ready to order Robert Gwaltney's The Cicada Tree. It will be our February 2022 official Pulpwood Queen, International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club selection. That would be the best birthday present. So as soon as you can pre-order it, we've got to get this guy's book out there in a big way. It's fantastic. It would be a great film. So happy birthday, Robert.
Thank you,
Thank
Kathy.
you. And we will all have this posted Saturday night for everybody to watch. And thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, and share. And this month, for the month of April, if you're a book club member, whether an author or a regular member or an international member, and you subscribe to my channel, you can get the full package to Girlfriend Weekend for $99. So it's up on my Facebook page, the International Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys Book Club selection page. And Robert, have a wonderful birthday.
Thank you. And we're going to stick around after the show and giggle some more.
That's right. That's right. So I'm going to end the recording. And if I lose you, I'll come back right back on. Bye, everybody. We'll see you. Make some popcorn. We'll see you at the movies. Bye-bye.